Did you know that 82% of homebuyers expressed regrets about their recent property purchase? The most common regret in buying a home was that the home requires too much maintenance and or costly repairs. 28% of homebuyers say they're shocked at the cost of the home maintenance that the property requires, and 1/3 of buyers placed the blame on the seller for not being upfront with how much it was going to cost to maintain that specific home. Buying a home is likely your largest financial investment. In this video, we are going to discuss the home searching process as well as things to avoid and things to consider when looking at homes prior to actually making the decision to write an offer on that specific property, so that you will not fall in the category of home buyers who regret buying their homes because of the cost of maintenance and or cost of unsightly issues such as infrastructure, components, etc. If you find value in this video, please smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and all of your support is so greatly appreciated. Currently, home buyers are stating that the most important thing in finding their dream home is a beautiful new kitchen, beautiful new bathrooms, beautiful new light fixtures, drawer pulls and knobs. The accessories is what I call it in home searching or home buying. These things are all very, very personal. And yes, there is an aesthetic or a style that will attract certain buyers. And it is nice to buy a home that feels complete and done. But don't get distracted by a home's fixtures and finishes while overlooking other key elements of the property. Home buyer surveys from 2024 stated that home buyers put a larger importance on these aesthetic or styling features versus the functionality, the maintenance, the upkeep, and overall functionality of the current components of the property, meaning that they were buying homes that were aesthetically pleasing or beautiful, but they didn't consider things like foundation issues, roof issues, or the cost of having to replace components like HVAC systems, roofs, etc. Now, aesthetic changes can certainly add value and style to a home, but buyers should also be looking for underlying qualities that could potentially cost them or save them a lot of money if they know what they are up against. Again, for example, foundation issues, structural issues, components that may need to be replaced in the upcoming years. Cosmetic fixes can mask structural problems, attracting more buyers to a home. But if you are a fiscally responsible buyer, you're going to want to know what the cost is to remediate any major issues, and also just the cost of maintaining a property. There's things that come up, such as cost to maintain your yard the way that you are accustomed to it. Maybe there's a pest control service because you have termites or ants. Maybe the current homeowner has to utilize a septic company to do a biannual septic inspection that costs several hundreds of dollars. Those things with regards to the cost of maintenance, you'll want to know up front, and you will definitely want to know up front if there are any structural integrity issues with the property. Look, I get it. A home with fresh interior paint, according to buyers in a survey in 2024, is the fourth most important aspect. But if your home has structural issues, who cares what fresh coat of paint has been painted on the property inside and out? If you're going to have to address issues like foundation, where you're lifting the home, and during the lifting process, your home walls crack, you're going to have to repaint anyways those walls that are freshly coated with paint and alluring. So during the home search process, here are some tips to keep buyers in check and on track to buying not only a home that you don't regret buying, but a home that is going to save you time, money, and lots of headaches. Certainly, a home inspector can provide a thorough investigation of the property once a buyer makes an offer. And in this market right now, oftentimes sellers are actually providing home inspections up front. So you should be able to gauge what any major issues there are prior to submitting an offer. But if there's not a home inspection that is offered up front, just do make sure that you and your realtor look at the property to make sure that the property is in quote unquote acceptable condition based on a visual inspection. There's a few signs to indicate property condition of really large components, such as foundation issues, roofing issues, etc. So when you start looking at properties that you are attracted to, start asking a lot of questions. Even if you think the answer is obvious, there's never a dumb question. So you can ask your agent. If your agent doesn't know, then she or he or me, I should be able to get you the answer from either the listing agent or from the sellers. But these questions can help you gain a better understanding of the property, the condition, the cost of maintenance, etc. So take plenty of notes, both positive and negative, throughout your viewing, as these will come in handy when making a decision in the future. If there's something that catches your eye, take a picture so you can come back to it for reference. This is really helpful. I'll do a lot of home tours, and my buyers will actually take video of the home so that they can re-reference it. Now, usually home sellers will have an online marketing package with a video included, but those are intended to really embellish the property and make it show in its best light. So when you're there at the property, if you see something like a crack in the wall, take a picture of it so that later when you are re-referencing the properties that you viewed, you have a landing point where you can go back and actually take a look at what your notes say. Ultimately, you want to become a sponge and absorb as much information as possible so that you can make a great decision when buying a home, and so that you do not end up regretting the purchase of your home. So things to really consider and ask questions about during the showing are yard maintenance. How much does it cost, and how often do you have somebody maintain your yard, or do you do it on your own? And if you do it on your own, how frequently do you do it, and how long does it take you to get the yard in the condition that it is when the home is being showed? No doubt that when your home is being showed, it is in tip-top condition. So how much effort does it take to keep it in that tip-top condition? What are the age of the appliances and home systems? How old is your HVAC system? If there is a stove in the kitchen that's not brand new, how old is the stove? What's the life expectancy on the air conditioning unit if there's air conditioning? How old is the roof? Those are really key components of a home that functions beautifully. So if they are old, what is the cost to replace them so that you can analyze that into your budget when you are making an offer? It's important to ask about maintenance costs. Since the maintenance issues tend to be the top buyer regret, home shoppers will want to find out more about annual costs to factor into their purchase decision. They can ask sellers for the average utilities cost, so that's PG&E, electrical, gas, sewer, water, stuff like that, trash collection, as well as any regular maintenance issues or extra fees, such as, is there a homeowners association? What are those dues? And what do they include? Some homeowners associations include your utilities, and so then you factor that out so that you can balance your net sheet. The cost to service engineered septic systems, yard work, ongoing visits by your local pest control person. Also, a general rule of thumb is that homeowners should budget between 1% and 4% of the home's value for your annual maintenance cost. Another thing to check out when you're looking at properties is check on high use items. The first things you want to check around the property are the light switches, the electrical outlets, the toilets, do they flush normally? The faucets, do they appear to have good water pressure and or are they leaking? Check on high use components of that property to make sure that those are indeed functioning, that you can see the GFCI outlets in the wet areas like your kitchen and your bathroom. Make sure that electrical outlets don't have any black spark marks on it, like that they've shorted at one point. That way you can just be getting a really good sense of what the underlying condition is of the property even before you make your offer. Another good tip is find out the age of items. How old is the roof? Has it had any previous issues or repairs? Are the sellers aware of any leaks that the roof has had? How old is the HVAC system? Check on the age of key components in the home may offer insight on how long they will last before you have to replace them. Things that could come up in older houses: has the knob and tube wiring been changed? If it's not, and your property still has knob and tube wiring, not only is that an expensive fix potentially, but it could limit or eliminate the possibility of getting homeowners insurance. Homeowners insurance now is pretty stringent, and they do want to make sure that knob and tube wiring has been replaced because it is a fire hazard. How old and what kind of plumbing has been used? Is it the old clay pipes or the cast iron pipes that could be leaching lead? Or have the plumbing components been upgraded to copper and or PVC? So find out the age of the components of the property and if the seller knows of any current issues. Watch out for smells. Unpleasant odors are more than just an unfortunate nuisance. There's sometimes weird smells that can be indicative of other issues, such as musty scents in a property. It could be that it just has been closed up for a while and it needs to be aired out, but it also could mean that there's biogrowth or issues that are happening behind the walls or under the house because the house is too moist. Be leery of fishy odors, a possible sign of electrical issues, and ammonia smell unrelated to cleaning, which is potentially a refrigerator or a washing machine issue. So make sure that if you smell something that doesn't seem appropriate for the property, you ask about that smell. Another thing to look at is the house's orientation. Are you south facing or north facing? The orientation of the house matters with relation to sun exposure for a couple different reasons. If there is no sun exposure or limited sun exposure, you could have a house that doesn't dry out. So you could have, again, lichen growing on the roof or biogrowth on surfaces. If you have a southern exposure on one of your walls or surfaces, on the exterior, you want to make sure that that area has been maintained. That means painted and caulked regularly so that if there are any cracks in that exposed area, they are dealt with regularly so there is no water intrusion. Sun exposure is great. I know a lot of people want south-facing homes, but you really want to make sure that that southern-facing wall has been maintained and continues to be maintained up into the future. Judge vehicle accessibility. Is there sufficient room for your car in the garage? Is it able to adequately accommodate multiple vehicles? If you have any family members who have disabilities, is the house accessible for them? Also, another common overlooked item that can cause real issues down the line is how accessible is the home for deliveries? Are you buying a property in the rural parts of Santa Cruz and you're just not going to be able to get your Amazon package delivered? Or are people not going to be able to find your home on GPS? That's something to consider. Not that it's the end all be all. You can get a P.O. box or figure out an alternative method, or maybe you want something so rural so nobody can find you, but it's just something to consider. The accessibility of the property for cars and trucks and deliveries, etc. Another thing to consider is look beyond the property. I know many people want accessibility to shopping, to grocery, to restaurants, to freeways, to schools, etc. So if you fall in love with a property that's, say, 30 minutes out of town, make sure that you judge the distance not only during off-peak hours, but during peak hours. Maybe it's 30 minutes to town when nobody's on the road, but 45 when people are on the road and there's a lot of traffic. So make sure that when you are looking beyond the property, you judge the distance of the property to the things that are important to your lifestyle based on peak and non-peak hours, so it doesn't negatively impact your lifestyle. And then we've talked a lot about that, but the structural integrity. Look at the structural integrity of a home. The inspector may recommend further inspections if they suspect any problems, but during the buyer's initial tour, you can spot some key indicators of poor build quality or underlying issues such as large cracks in the walls throughout the home, doors that do not close all the way or that close on their own once they've been open, cabinets that don't close flush, windows that don't open. These can all be indicators of foundation issues. Look at the ceiling. Are there past stains or current stains? Is there water dripping down the walls or stains down the wall? Those can be indicative of leaks that have been past issues or present issues. All of these little things start to add up to big things, and some of them are big things like a foundation issue or a roof that needs to be replaced. So I get it. I know a lot of buyers are looking at the beauty aesthetics of a brand new kitchen, new features, new fresh coat of paint. I know the beauty of a freshly remodeled kitchen is compelling and that a new coat of paint and curb appeal can make a home inviting and alluring. But remember to look at the big ticket items like the roof and the foundation, as well as the components of the home and the cost of maintaining and or replacing them so that you do not fall into the statistic of those who regret their most recent home purchase. Be prudent in your wish list and maybe start with a home that does not need a lot of upgrades, that does not need heavy structural components or engineering. And from there, you can add on things like I want a new kitchen, or I want a new bathroom, or new light fixtures. Remember, you will save a lot of money if your home is structurally sound, and it will be a lot easier to remodel to your aesthetics in the future if you do not need to first replace the foundation or the roof. I hope that this video didn't scare you away. These are just some things that will save you time, money, and lots of headaches as a home buyer looking to purchase their first home or their second home or third or whatever. When you are looking to buy a new home for you and your family, make sure that you don't just get swept away by a beautiful brand new kitchen, but you actually look for the structural integrity and components of the property as well. If you found value in this video, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe so that you can stay up to date on things that are very important in the home buying and home selling process, as well as what's going on right here in our Santa Cruz real estate market. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Shamika Fox, your Santa Cruz real estate expert. And as always, I'm here to help. Make it a great day. Until next time.